Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to talk about how to develop vibrato. This video is for people that are just starting out with developing a vibrato rather than someone who already has one established. It can take quite a while to develop a good vibrato, and once you have developed that, there are different exercises that you would use to the ones I'm going to talk about today in order to develop and enhance your vibrato. So if you're just starting out, this video is for you. So first of all, let's talk about what vibrato actually is. So I'm going to demonstrate by playing you a phrase and talking about the word itself. It's from the Latin word shaken, and it literally means a wavering of the pitch, and it's used on a voice or an instrument in order to intensify and enhance the tone. It can be so beautiful in parts of our playing to help with phrasing and interpretation and our storytelling when we're playing. It can take quite a while to develop a good vibrato, and is a continuous process once you have one of using it intentionally. But let me just first of all show you what it is, and hopefully you'll hear the wavering of the pitch on the longer notes in this short phrase. So when we're starting to think about vibrato, there are two main types of vibrato that we aim to use on the violin, and that is wrist vibrato and forearm vibrato. There is also finger vibrato, but very, very few violinists can use it effectively. It's not something I use, and it's not something that I teach students to do. So going back to, it's very difficult, which is one of the reasons why, and not really necessary in our technique. So wrist and arm vibrato. First of all, I'll show you wrist and then I'll show you forearm. Now forearm. So the wrist, just employing the wrist mainly for movement, and the forearm moving a bit more of the forearm as well as the wrist for the movement. I mainly use a forearm vibrato, sometimes a bit of wrist, but it can really depend on the player and how they develop and how they play as to which one that you would lean towards. But it's best to try and develop both and see kind of which one feels best and most natural and works best for you. So when you're first starting out, we've got to think about a few things as we start. First of all, the motion of the wrist and forearm moving backwards and forwards, and also how the fingers then sit on the fingerboard whilst they're being played. So a really simple exercise to start with is I have this little very small egg shaker here. You don't have to use an egg shaker, but anything that will just sit in the palm of your hand. And hold up your left arm, so the arm that you play the violin with, as if you're holding your violin in front of you, and just rock the wrist backwards and forwards. You can start to use the forearm a little bit as well. So first of all, sort of rhythmically, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And then you might like to start moving it a bit quicker. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And then faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then kind of as fast as you can, and you'll get that sort of vibrato action. It might feel quite strange at first, and you might find that the arm feels quite tired, but that's a really good thing to just start out with getting the motion. The second thing is thinking about how the fingers sit on the fingerboard. And we need to make sure that they can hold the pitch of the note whilst rocking backwards and forwards. It's really important with the vibrato to make sure that when we start the action that we rock backwards, so downwards in pitch first, rather than upwards or upwards in pitch. Otherwise, we can really start to change the pitch of the note too much. So always really important, start to vibrato down when you're starting out. Now I've got another very useful prop here. This is just a little harmonica case. It's the thing I could find in here. And if you put your left hand fingers so they're sitting up like hammers on here, you can also use a table or perhaps a ruler. You want to make sure that it's almost like the fingers are hanging, because that's how they will be on your fingerboard. And then thinking about them with some downward pressure, rocking backwards and forwards. So you might like to try 2 at a time. And sort of feeling that place that they're not moving from where they are in positioned. They are rocking backwards and forwards, and just seeing with the thumb away or gently placed on how that feels. And you can feel that you don't really need the thumb in order to do that. So that's another one to just practice and get used to that feeling of what that feels like with the fingers rocking but staying in the same place. So when we come to vibrato on the violin, we start to realise why it's so important to have the left hand in quite a specific position on the neck. Now, when we are starting out, I'm usually telling students to make sure that their thumb and first finger is in contact with the neck of the violin. Now, once we start to vibrato, that there'll need to be a gap as we start to move the vibrato motion. So you can see I'm creating a gap there. And you can see my other finger coming through there. So as we start to, first of all, when the finger is still, and then as we vibrato, you can see there's actually a gap between the first finger and the neck. So it's important to be able to feel that difference. And the thumb is just really quite loosely staying in place on the neck as well. So really important not to squeeze the neck when you're starting out to do a vibrato, because it will become very, very tense. And it's really quite a relaxed motion that you're trying to get to begin with. It's usually easiest once you start to get the fingers onto the fingerboard to start with fingers 2 and 3. They're usually the easiest ones to develop, then 1 and 4 being the sort of most difficult to establish. So you can start by thinking about just a note, just playing long open strings as part of your warm-up and your practice, doing those couple of exercises to get the motions with an egg shaker, and then perhaps a table or another prop that you have to get the rocking motion. Understanding that difference between how the fingers need to sit on the fingerboard, perhaps just making sure that thumb is really relaxed on the neck. And then you can start by having perhaps second or third finger down on, I'm going to start with 3 down, hold the pitch first of all, down, 2, down, I'll try 1, and just trying those on a couple of times, not too many times, and you'll slowly find that the vibrato will start to develop for you. Then you can start to add the vibrato into your pieces. And it's a good idea to start with the end of phrases or the end of sections where you have a long note. You've got time to think about intentionally adding the vibrato at those points. Really helpful not to try and add it too much to start with, so that you can really make sure that it's an intentional movement that you're using. Sometimes vibratos can creep in at the wrong parts of our pieces and actually disrupt the pitch of the note, and then it's not so helpful. So it's really got to be an intentional enhancement of your playing, rather than something that's coming in perhaps because you're not quite sure of what the note should be. And sometimes we vibrato and it's not helpful to do it that way. So in summary, vibrato can take a while to develop. So be really patient about starting out with vibrato. Even if the exercises aren't feeling that helpful, keep going with how that motion should feel of the wrist and the forearm rocking backwards and forwards, so you can get that feeling of the wrist and the forearm moving, and also the fingers rocking on the string. Make sure you vibrato down first always, so down in pitch first always. Try in simple phrases, try on long notes, and there's other exercises once your vibrato is in place with a couple of fingers that you can continue to do as well. So I hope you found this video helpful. Good luck with developing your vibrato, and please subscribe to my channel.